Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. We have a power-packed show today. First, we're going to start with the Wizard of Oz. We're going to decode that, break that down on a spiritual and esoteric level, and then we will get into Sweet Tooth. Now, I decoded the first 3 episodes of Sweet Tooth, and at the end of the 3rd episode, they mention the secret sauce in the pineal gland as the place where they harvest the cure for the sick. Those are their words, and we'll get into what that means at the end of the show today. But let's start with the Wizard of Oz. Now, I broke this down. I spent a lot of time on this yesterday, and I want to share this scene with you. Now, everybody remembers this scene from the Wizard of Oz, but did you know what was really behind this scene on a spiritual level? I want you to listen and watch as we break this down. And I had to dice this up. This is a 1-minute clip. It's actually about, this is a 1-minute clip originally, The Wizard of Oz, Apple's scene. And I had to dice it up because the Al Gore's rhythms were all over this clip. But you'll get the point after you watch it. You'll understand what the clip meant. But to me, it's shocking how a 1939 film that's almost 100 years old could still be drawing copyrights after all this time. Now, my guess is that they did this because of how full of symbolism it was, and they knew that later generations would break this down and expose all their esoteric symbolism and how that fits into human sacrifice. So the first thing you're going to notice here is the Wicked Witch among the trees. Let's watch. Now, I took the sound off because even the sound is copyrighted. The song that's playing in the background. So they're running through the forest, and there you see the Wicked Witch hiding behind the tree as Dorothy and the Scarecrow and Toto are walking towards her. Now, what is the witch? Well, she runs the forest. And she casts spells, of course. And I believe the English language emerged out of the reversal of the existing language at the time, which was Hebrew and Aramaic. Their languages are backwards from ours. And many languages are written and spelled in reverse of English. Now, some languages, like French, the word English sounds like angel or anglais. And you have to ask yourself, what does that really mean? Is English or anglais or angel, are they referring to the fallen angels? So I titled this decode today, this live show, The Wizard of AZ-AZEL, because he was the one who taught men spells and witchcraft. Here is the Wikipedia page on AZ-AZEL, and as you can see here, he taught secrets of witchcraft. So you got to ask yourself, were they really talking about the Wizard of Oz, AZ-AZEL? Right? Now think about this for a second. AZ-AZEL's name contains the first and last letter of the alphabet, AZ-AZEL. Spelling, spell casting. And I'm wondering if spells and spelling of the alphabet are related somehow. So as we begin to break down this iconic scene in The Wizard of Oz, we can start to see how this witch becomes AZ-AZEL, hiding in the trees. Now, let's break down these characters. Let's watch a little bit more of this as they approach her. So the witch becomes...
Ouch! What do you think you're doing?
Let's back this up. Now, the witch becomes AZ-AZEL in the trees. And now we're going to look at these characters. So you have Dorothy here, of course, right? Now, what could Dorothy possibly mean that's deeper than the original meaning? Well, the word Dorothy means God's gift. And what was God's greatest gift, or who was God's greatest gift? That would have been Jesus himself, his only begotten Son. Now, let's back this up and see what the scarecrow might possibly mean. Here's the scarecrow. Now, what you're going to notice here is they're going to be framed between these two trees. And you start to understand who the scarecrow really is. He becomes the straw man. So what you're looking at here is a spiritual manifestation of the crucifixion. You've got Jesus as Dorothy, which of course is Mockery. And then you have the straw man between the trees. The straw man is the devil accusing God of sending a straw man to save humanity. Now, the next thing you're going to notice is the voices of these two trees as they go between the two trees. One is a high-pitched voice, one is a low-pitched voice. And I believe these represent the trees of the knowledge of good and evil, which also are the two thieves at either side of Christ at the crucifixion. It's the opposites, or the polarity. Watch.
Ouch!
What do you think you're doing?
We've been walking a long ways and I was hungry and...
How would you like to have someone come along and pick something off of you?
She was hungry.
Well, how would you like...
Did you say something?
She was hungry.
She was hungry.
So there they are, juxtaposed in between the trees. Toto is a dog. Dog backwards is God. It's all Mockery. These are two trees, the polarity, the opposites, one high-pitched voice, one low-pitched voice. Now, if you're still having a hard time believing this spiritual interpretation, notice Dorothy's colors. I pulled them up because this is very important. Blue and white. And red shoes. Now, blood and water, or red and blue came from Jesus' side when his side was pierced, right? So you've got basically all of the colors of Christ symbolized by his sacrifice. You've got the dog Toto. Dog backwards is God, of course. But Toto has a meaning. The name actually means little one, or also it can mean everything. So, like firstborn. Now, if this still isn't making sense, understand that Dorothy was played, of course, by Judy Garland. Here's her Wikipedia page here. Now, how old was Judy Garland when she died? She died very young, at the age of 47. Now, you will remember when we showed you this rainbow timeline. And in the middle is the 42 generations described by Jesus that spanned a 2,000-year period. And when we did the math on this, it gave us an average of a 47-year per generation. All we did was take 2,000 years divided by the 42 generations, and we got 47 total years in each generation. That's an average, of course. Okay, some generations were shorter, some longer throughout this period, but this was the average. And we surmised that these 42 generations may have fallen directly in the center of human history. Is this making sense now? 47 at the center of human history. 2,000 years before, 2,000 years after, gives us the exact moment, or not the exact moment, but the moment in time within plus or minus 10 to 40 years, let's say, of where we're at right now in the timeline. I'm going to pull this timeline back up so you can see this, because this is very important to understand. Here's the total timeline. 2,000 years here, before Abraham, and 2,000 years after Jesus. And in the middle, the 42 generations Jesus describes, which is also the angle of the viewing of the rainbow, 42 degrees. Amazing, right? Now, I want you to listen next to what the scarecrow says about the worm. Let's make sure you guys are with me. Okay, good. Let's listen to what the scarecrow says about the worm.
It's just that she doesn't like little green worms. Come along, Dorothy. You don't want any of those apples.
Are you hitting my apples on what they ought to be?
Oh, no.
I'll show you how to get apples.
All right. I guess that did it.
Now, the scarecrow says that she doesn't like the little green worms. Well, the little green worms, of course, would be the serpent. Wow. Now, there's more to this. How did Dorothy get to Oz? How did she get there? Well, we all remember that she came in through a portal, a pillar of cloud by day, a tornado. And of course, that is the narrow gate. Now, when you think about a tornado, it is a twisted tree trunk. Trees are portals, or the shape of a portal, manifest in our physical reality as a reminder. There's so much you can learn from nature. What you're looking at here is the yellow brick road. It's also a spiral. And looking down, you're looking down through the trunk of a tree. Now, this is the path Jesus took. He came down, or when he left, when he left and then was ascended, and then he came back, he probably came through the gate, the portal, right? Or was it the Mount of Olives? Is that where he returned? I can't remember. Well, it was full of trees. Olive trees. Now, that fits in perfectly with his ministry and everything that he talked about. The gate being narrow or the gate being wide. The gate being wide is the gate to destruction. The gate being narrow is the gate, the narrow gate. It's very hard to get through this. And there's so many meanings to that. Not only in your walk with him, it's hard to get through, but also it's a narrow gate because there's only one way to the Father, and that is through him. These were Jesus' words. So, in effect, they're, again, mocking Christ, talking about Dorothy coming down to earth just as Jesus arrived after his resurrection. So, okay, Casey, what are the apples? Well, of course, they are the forbidden fruit, but let's dig a little bit deeper. Because apples and other fruits are shaped like magnets or a magnetic field. They're little tornadoes. Here's a magnetic field, and there you see the core of the apple. You're looking at an apple. These are funnels or gates. They keep things in. We're actually locked in a magnetic field of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's where we are. We can't get out. The only way is through the narrow gate, through the middle, through the tree trunk to Christ, outside of this realm of sin that causes us to die. Actions and reactions. Sin runs rampant. And sin causes you, your own self, to die. Jesus got out because he was sinless, right? And he was the Son of God, or God incarnate. He got out because he was perfect. He was born in this realm perfect and escaped perfect, and showed us that through him we could also escape, but you have to believe in him. So this belief and faith seems to be the key to getting out. You have to believe in him. Some kind of, if you want to break this down, it's really a spiritual thing. I don't want to try to break this down on a scientific level, because God is outside of the bounds of science, obviously. So to try to do that would be probably a form of blasphemy. So I'm not going to try to explain to you how belief and faith works. That's outside of our understanding. But it is the key to get us back out of this fallen, sinful tree of knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam and Eve, you will surely die if you go into that tree. Do you understand now that it was not a fruit they were talking about that they ate and disobeyed, and that's why God punished them and trapped them? No, this had something to do with worlds. Rooms of many mansions or places. For some reason, this world was allowed to exist of good and evil. Could have been created out of the fall of the enemy. Maybe this was a place where God, through choice, allowed the devil to rule, because God does not force you to do good or be good or to obey him. So somehow this world fractured off from all of the other good and holy trees of the garden. This is a tree. Trees are realms. Now, what is this? This is a toroid field spinning out and back in on each other. And I even argue that in the center of this is spinning. It's spinning, which that's what creates movement. This is a tree trunk. Okay? And apples have their own trunks inside, right? The core of the apple is the trunk. Just like the trees that they come from. So, now that we've broken down the trees in the Wizard of Oz on a spiritual level, let's read about what they say about the fighting trees. That's what these are called, the fighting trees. Let's see if it matches up with what we came up with on a spiritual level. The fighting trees, let me zoom this up a little bit so you guys can see this. This is from Fandom, obviously, talking about the fighting trees that appear in L. Frank Baum's first Oz book titled The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, published in 1900. These specific trees can only be found in the magical land of Oz and are located on the border of Oz's southern quadrant, known as the Quadling Country. They are ancient, being thousands of years old. They are deeply rooted by the hundreds, all in a long line that stretches out for several miles. Their job is to keep intruders out of the enchanted forest that dwells behind them, which they guard and protect. They're said to have thick, flexible branches that substitute for arms and fingers. We have limbs, we have fingers, we have a core, we have crowns, we have a trunk. We have all of the same descriptive properties of our anatomy that trees do, because we are trees, born from the tree of life. Interesting, right? So, in fact, our assertions were correct. That these were written to be described as portals, barriers to other lands. The trees kept things out, but they also kept things in. You had to pass them on the yellow brick road in a very narrow place, and they kept you out. Now, why are we decoding one of the most beloved movies of all time? Why are we doing that? It's because the enemy controls everything, and he wants you to question God, just like he does. He's the accuser. So he weaves his way into your consciousness through film. And unless you understand what you're looking at, on some subconscious level, you will be deceived. You will begin to question God when you watch these things. Now, let's get into some other aspects of this, because we have the beast and the trees. The beast and the trees. Now, the Bible says that the serpent was what is the most cunning beast of the field. Why would God describe the serpent as a beast when he was supposedly a spiritual being? Because there's something to it. See, we as man were created above nature and placed in it to rule over it. But we were not animals or beasts. But look at us. Our flesh now, in our fallen state, is very beast-like. We sweat, we perspire, we have to breathe, we need food and water. Think about what the Bible says about once we're made perfect again. We will never be what? Thirsty. We will never be what? Hungry. It's almost as if our beast bodies will now be converted back to a mostly spiritual body. And I don't understand how all that works. All I know is that something changed after Adam and Eve fell. Adam began to sweat. He had sweat. Eve had birth pangs. They turned into something different. Toiling in the field, labor. Adam had labor and Eve had labor. So, that's what's going on with that. All right, we're still with you guys. Now let's drag this over here, because now we're going to get into Sweet Tooth. And what does Sweet Tooth have to do with all this? Well, once again, we have this natural component mixed with man. And now we can start to understand these TV series like Sweet Tooth. So let me give you the backdrop of Sweet Tooth. And I've got some clips pulled up from it here. So there's a spam-demic that causes people's nervous systems to malfunction. Does this sound familiar? Now, I almost didn't decode this series, but there were so many people that asked me to do it, I had to. So I decided to do it. I'm only on episode 3, so there's more to come after today's decode. But basically, these people come down with this nervous system malfunction, and it causes their little pinky finger to start twitching. And that's the telltale sign that you've come down with what they call the sick. And their little pinky finger starts convulsing and twitching. There's also an infertility aspect to Sweet Tooth as well. And then there's a phase where all new children that are born are hybrids. They're half animal and half human chimeras. Here you see the twitching pinky finger, and the woman sees it, and then it says emergency, alert, stay indoors, isolate yourself from others. Now, I don't tend to do decodes, after the fact decodes, unless it's very powerful and I think we can glean more from it. This Sweet Tooth series would have been way better had it came out in like 2018. Then it would have been a slam dunk, right? And much more powerful to help convince people of how programming works, how the enemy uses Hollywood to pre-program you for events that he has planned for humanity. So then these half human, this is Sweet Tooth here, half human, half animal hybrids are born. Now, Sweet Tooth, it's a sad story, of course. His father takes him into the wilderness because these hybrids become hunted. They're blamed for the spam-demic. They're blamed for it, and they're hunted. They're also hunted for another reason, which we'll get into a little bit later in the story. But Sweet Tooth has to live alone because his father was killed, and he's courageous, and his name is Sweet Tooth. Now, here's the interesting thing. His name is Gus. His nickname is Sweet Tooth. I saw some channels had done, talked a little bit about Sweet Tooth, trying to decode it, but there's so much more to this, you guys. Gus backwards is S-U-G, which is the first 3 letters of the word sugar. So what this involves is what's called a secret sauce. They harvest it from their pineal glands. You're going to hear it in their own words as we continue on. Now, understand as we get into the description of Sweet Tooth that the concept of a family tree relates back to this idea that we as humanity are little trees. This is a biblical concept as well. There are several places in the Bible that describe people as trees. Of course, Sweet Tooth has branches or horns. And understand that the merging of man with nature in our fall from perfection is indicated by these bodies that blend with nature, as we talked about earlier in the show, having beast-like qualities in our nature. This isn't how I believe God created us. Like I said, we experienced hunger, pain, thirst, all these things that normally animals would only experience. We experienced that once we fell, but it wasn't like that before. Now, here's another aspect of this that I haven't heard many other channels talk about in decoding Sweet Tooth, and that is the Cernunnos, horned god of the trees. This is Cernunnos. Of course, the Hadron Collider is named after this god of the forest, Cernunnos. He's the god of the trees, and everything always seems to point back to him. As we see in this carving, he's sitting in the Baphomet pose. Wow. Now, Cernunnos also dovetails into the god Pan. They're pretty much the same god. Pan is also a horned god. But they're pretty much the same creature, this forest god. Now, here's where things get crazy, because in this next scene, he lights a fire and he burns his toys out of frustration because he had just lost his father and he was just frustrated. He's trying to remember the things his dad taught him, but he can't, so he burns this fire. And immediately, you'll see it too, this is actually the thumbnail of this live show, it reminded me of a Masonic secret society, the Order of St. Hubertus. Watch. The fire lights up, and they frame the fire between his horns, just like the Order of St. Hubertus. I put a side-by-side here so you could see it. This is their logo. The buck with Christ crucified in the center of his horns. This is exactly what they were getting at here. You can almost make out a cross in the fire, actually. Almost. I mean, I see these things. Other people don't sometimes. But a lot of this stuff is manifesting on a spiritual level. So I don't blame people if they don't see it. But when you have eyes to see, all this stuff comes to the forefront. So, what is the Order of St. Hubertus? Let's take a look. This is it here. This is depicted in a stained glass window. The Order of St. Hubertus. Now, this gained national attention when a particular Supreme Court Justice, Scalia, died on Lupercalia. I'll say that again. Justice Scalia died on Lupercalia, which is a February ancient pagan Roman fertility ritual. He died while at a hunting lodge, and apparently the people that he was with were all part of the Order of St. Hubertus. They still won't confirm that he was part of it. My guess is that he probably was. And the circumstances under which he died was very mysterious. Some kind of suffocation or a pillow. Now, here's the weird thing, is that Sweet Tooth is all about the hunters. And of course, the Order of St. Hubertus is the Order of Hunters. And they're all about hunting, fishing. Here's the Bohemian Club. This is a secret society. As many of you know, almost all secret societies come out of the Masons. Hunting, fishing. There's like even an optician, which is looking at the eyes, which is weird as well. This is all about hunting. Now, in the Sweet Tooth series, these hybrids are hunted down. And from whatever they get, they actually tap into their pineal gland and their bone marrow, and they come up with a cure. They're actually even blamed for the spamdemic. Now, We know that the Order of St. Hubertus was the patron saint of hunting and fishing, math, opticians, metalworks as well. Does all this sound familiar? He cured rabies with a key. Let's go back up here. Here's Hubertus here, from which the order was named. He cured rabies with a key. I'm going to find that on the page here so you can see this. What is this about? Now, remember, we had identified the T-Man, Donald himself, as the man with the key, Janus. See, all these demons they syncretize with one another. This is all manifesting on a spiritual level. And we've also talked about the association of rabies with the spamdemic and how that links into all this, and how rabies was the source of the zombie apocalypse that I believe is coming. It's already kind of here as people have begun to lose their minds, follow the turd immunity, mindset. So St. Hubertus healed people of rabies with a key. And of course, these are two subjects that we've talked about at length on this channel. So I was shocked to see both of these aspects emerge here. Now, this story of St. Hubertus sounds good and righteous. There's actually a part in here that talks about his spiritual conversion and how all this went down. He was tracking a buck in the forest. He was about to take it, and then a crucifix appeared between the horns of the buck, as you can see here. And he heard God's voice telling him to give his life to Jesus and also to follow ethical hunting rules. Now, these hunting rules are still in effect today. If you're a hunter, you've probably heard of St. Hubertus, about how to hunt, certain rules about, not taking a mother who has children so she can continue to feed her young, ethical dispatching of the wildlife, different types of rules. But here's the problem I have with this, and that is that it's a secret society. We know that all of these secret societies come out of the Masons. We know they use God's holy word. We know they use Christ, and they flip the script on it. We saw this with the Georgia Guidestones. The people that helped build the Guidestones, that were the locals, that helped get the granite and all this, they were told by this R.C. Christian that he was a Christian and he loved God. As they were etching into the stone that they would maintain a population below 500 million, and they still believed that this person was a man of God. Do you see how they try to use God? This is why you see a lot of these rock artists wear crosses around their neck while doing the worst things ever. So let's get back into this, because anywhere the sickness spreads, these flowers begin to grow. Well, what color are the flowers? Of course, they're purple. Let's watch. There's the Order of St. Hubertus next to Gus, Sweet Tooth.
Those flowers show up every time the sick does. They're like a omen or something.
Doesn't look sick to me.
Those flowers show up every time the sick does.
So, the flowers show up, and now you're seeing how this all fits into the timeline of human history. The purple flowers, the last Earth age, right? Back here in the purple. Now, if you're confused about this rainbow timeline, we did a couple videos on it on the other channel. They're still there. But we looked at the rainbow and we overlaid it over the timeline of human history and decided we're back here in the purple. This is the purple rain. Okay? Completing the rainbow. And so the purple flowers, what do they represent? Now that we've talked a lot about this, well, it's the last Earth age and hybridism. The blue blood and the red blood make purple. It's the mixing of steel with watery clay. It's the mixing of iron needles with red clay humans. Adam makes purple. Wow. So, the beast. Now we understand who the beast is, the mark of the beast. The beast is the most cunning beast of the field, the serpent himself, as described by God in Genesis. Now, in this next scene, let's pull this up. Where are we? Why it does that? There it is. So, in this next scene, let's close this. This guy gets sick. They're at a dinner party, right? So, let's play a little bit of this. Okay, so this guy gets sick. He's at a dinner party. This guy is the doctor. And his wife has the sick, but nobody knows it. And he's been using a VC that has been harvested from the pineal gland of these hybrid children. And this is how he keeps his wife from getting symptoms, keeps her from her pinky, moving to give it away. But they're at this dinner party, and this other guy, he drops a bowl, and his pinky starts going, and this is how they handle people in the future who come down with the sick. They pin him down. They test him with a rapid test. The test turns purple, which is, metaphor for the purple flowers, the mixing of serpent and man. Then they wrap him in saran wrap and light the house on fire. There's the wife, she's sick. There's the doctor. They do the finger prick test. Now you understand what was it? What is her name? What is the, gosh, why am I drawing a blank with this? It's another nursery rhyme where she pricks her finger. Maleficent. Now you get what that means. The apple, she grabs the apple and her finger is pricked. It's always been about drawing blood and pricking things and sticking things in you. It's always been about that. Snow White. Pure blood. And the Maleficent wants to taint and infect the pure blood. So this guy's all nervous. He knows what's going to happen. He knows he's already sick. Whoa, and look at that. Look at that. See, sometimes I miss things in my own decodes. See the serpent wrapped around the pole right here? Now you know what that means. That's the tree. The purple. The serpent wrapping around the tree, trying to infect the tree. Do you get it now? This goes deep, you guys. He does the rapid test. It goes from yellow to purple. The guy's sick. They pin him down, and there are the purple flowers. Flowers are fruit. Things flower, right? So it's tainted fruit, which in the Bible is described as us being fruitful and filling the earth. The fruit of the womb. These are all biblical passages. So flowers, in effect, are like babies. It's like tainted humanity, tainted race.
Doesn't look sick to me.
Those flowers show up every time the sick does.
Hybrids are how.
So Gus, Sweet Tooth, and the big man end up running into a tribe of children who defend hybrids. They're kind of like a special teams force, but they're teenagers, basically. They run around saving hybrids from the leftover men on the earth who want to take them out. And these teens believe that the planet is better unpopulated. Now, this violates God's commandment to fill the earth. The problem with population is not man. The problem is the leader of man, which is the devil. He is the one that makes the things that pollute the earth. Yeah, we use it, but it's temptation, convenience. This is why I try to lead a minimalist lifestyle. I don't consume a bunch of things. I don't feel like I have to use things up. I try to preserve things. I try not to be wasteful, because every little bit you do goes against the enemy. He wants you to be a consumer. He wants you to open as many plastic bottles as you can. That's what he wants, because that pollutes the earth and ruins the earth. What if the enemy never made plastic bottles and all the things that ruin the earth? Then man would be forced to use natural and biodegradable things. Do you see how it's not us making? You and I are not running a plant that makes plastic bottles. It's the rich and the elite that are providing all these things as temptations to give to you so that you use them and ruin the earth. And then they turn around and blame it back on you. And that becomes their justification as to why they need to reduce the populations. Do you see how this works now? If we were in God's natural earth, everything we use would just be absorbed back into the earth. Wouldn't be a problem. So understand that all these things that are given to you to ruin the earth, these are forms of temptation to mock God, to justify to the enemy why he needs to reduce your population, you see. So listen to this dialogue here. Now this girl reminds me of, what's her name? The girl that was, how dare you? This is the how dare you girl right here, right? Listen.
Every time the sick does.
Hybrids are how the Earth survives. Before the virus, Earth was dying. Look. Did you know that before the virus came, the water wasn't blue? That's because they filled the water with trash. The Earth could start to heal. You can live without taking. You can keep the Earth alive.
Now, here's some in-your-face disclosure right here. I found this part at the end of episode 3. So we got a lot more to decode on this. We'll do that later in the week. I'll probably watch a couple more episodes today, capture some clips this afternoon, and then we'll do like a show like day after tomorrow on this. So this is his wife, and she realizes that they have to harvest hybrids in order to make the cure. Now this is doublespeak here, because what's really happening is the cure is actually what's making people sick in the series. She's basically getting hybrid cells into her body. That's the big joke. But it becomes the cure. So it's like they're telling you, watch.
Dr. Bell's notes were unequivocal. We need a living hybrid.
In specific combination with hybrid bone marrow stem cells, form unique secretions from the pineal gland of a living hybrid. In the secret sauce, as it were, of hybrid bone marrow stem cells, form the secret sauce, as it were, of our current antiviral treatment.
So what they said there, I had to dice this scene up as well. You got to be careful. You can't go over a certain amount of seconds with this stuff. Otherwise, you'll get a copyright. Right? And then nobody sees it. So I try to be careful. But what she said there is you use bone marrow and the pineal, and it makes a secret sauce. And that becomes the cure. Right in your face. Right in your face. So why is the doctor listening to this recording? Well, the original doctor retired, and she left all her notes for him. And his wife needs the antidote, because she got the sick, obviously. But as you heard, they need the secret sauce. So this doctor becomes conflicted between saving his wife's life and harming a hybrid. So he finally decides he's going to send out the call to bring in a hybrid to make the sauce. And he waits and waits and waits. But as the world begins to close in around him, as people begin to threaten him, and, then they find out that his wife's actually sick, and you know what happens. They'll burn you in a house and wrap you in cellophane. He just finally just gives in. So the signal to get the secret sauce, because he obviously is not going to go find a hybrid himself, is there's a flare gun with a purple flash. There it is right there. Secret sauce. He fires the flare gun. And what that does is it summons whoever it is out there, and I haven't got to that part yet, that will go and bring him a hybrid so he can make the secret sauce. Now, all of this is eerily reminiscent of, we're going to have to call it a crenodrome. This purplish pink, the secret sauce. What would they used to call it? Walnut sauce, right? Now, why would they put something this sick into a film like this? A children's film. This goes way beyond dropping hints of theories or gaslighting those who believe in these theories. This is sadistic and disturbing because children are watching this film. And yet, here are all the elements that many, many of us in this community have been talking about for years, all showing up in this film. Okay? This is disturbing. Now, this flare, GUN, I said the word, I'm probably going to have this, probably going to come after this video. This flare that he dispatches in the sky, it turns a purple color. I don't think I showed that clip in this, but it reminded me of the 4th of July. Now, I'm not saying something's going to happen on the 4th of July, but isn't that like Bo Jiven's like date of when everybody's supposed to, 70% of the people are supposed to get the sticker? Just really weird, right? Let's play the rest of this out. So that's the clip. Like I said, there's a lot more to the series. We'll get into it soon. Glad everybody showed up. Looks like more of you have found your way over to the backup channel here. We'll be here just until Friday. And then like probably Sunday or Monday, we'll have our main channel back and we'll be right back over there. I'm so thankful we have a backup channel where everybody shows up. Normally about 800 of you show up, 800 to 1,000. So I think most of you made it over here. So bless you for showing up. And so isn't that crazy, you guys? Oh man. So what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow I got all these other tabs pulled up. We're going to do another update on the sticker. Lots of stuff going on with the sticker, as they try to reach their goals before summer. So we'll see how all that shakes out. But all right. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks, Isaac. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Yes. All right. When you have eyes to see, it is very disturbing. Ain't buying it. But it sets you free. The truth sets you free because you don't fall for the deception. Yeah, I believe that the solar flares is another lie as well. Gosh, as you guys know, we've been on this channel for about a decade. How many times have we heard about this solar flares? We would think after all these years, something real would have actually happened. I think it's just another fear tactic or a method to basically condition us, to prepare us for when they decide to do, take out different parts of the grid. They'll just blame it on all these things that they've preconditioned to us to believe in. Hackers, solar flares, other countries. Best thing you can do is have no fear and understand that God will always take care of you, no matter what. And all they have is deception. They have deception to try to manipulate you with lies. All right, glad you guys like the decode. Yeah, it's really helpful to go back in time and look at some of these older films. I don't know why Wizard of Oz popped into my head, but I had covered it once before, but now we have even more information on it with the colors and what they mean and all that. So I'm glad we got to revisit that. All right. Look up Sweet Teeth from Twisted Metal. Blow your mind. It's all about children, says Kotz. Thanks for that. To look into that. Thanks, Chrissy, Christopher. Whatever happened to Good? Linda, Tom. Plausible deniability. Yes. Oh, sorry, Alyssa. You missed the show, but hey, we'll be back on our own. I know it's early for a lot of you, but you can always catch the show on the flip side, Patterns on top of patterns. Yes, things within things. Nested reality. We talked a lot about that. I believe we're onto something. An apple, the shape of the apple inside the shape of the tree. inside the shape of the magnetic field we're trapped in. Well, we forgot a step. The apple inside of the tree, inside of weather patterns, right? What are these hurricanes and tornadoes? They're shaped just like the trees. And that is inside the magnetic field. So there's always truth looking at the nested realities, the Russian dolls. It's pretty. Some people call it fractals. I guess you can call it fractals. But nesting is even more cool because what is inside of a tree? A nest. How is a nest shaped? Look at any nest. Go pull an old nest. Well, don't go pull an old nest out of a tree because mama could have just finished building it. But what is a nest? It's a spiral of twigs. And out of that comes what? An egg. What is the egg? It's another nest. It's another portal. What's the original seed? Probably. Born into sin. Everything is born into sin in this reality. So, Yabba Dabba asked, could you decode the never-ending story? I think I looked at that once. It's been many, many years. Atreyu riding on the dog. Okay. I love you guys. We'll be back on here tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Oh, in case you haven't subscribed to all the other channels, I have like 3 or 4 other channels. So I put them, they should be in the description of this video and on the main page. Go ahead and subscribe to them all because we're going to need all of them. YouTube's picking off channels one by one, trying to find. The last strike we got was on a video from 2020, like an entire year ago. And somebody, they'd even approved the video. The video was advertiser friendly, but somebody went and found one sentence that I said and and that's what got us on here on the backup channel. We can't even go live on the main channel. So oftentimes what I'm going to do is I'm going to put videos up, and if they sit there and they're not advertiser friendly and this goes on for weeks, that usually means they're considering the video for a strike. So what I'll do is I'll take them down, but always know that those videos will be on Odyssey backed up. So don't freak out if you pull up a video and it says video not found or video removed by user. Simply go to Odyssey, look for the same title, and you'll see it right there. So don't worry. The information will get across. I'm not so, married to my videos that I can't let them go when I need to save the channel. I think that's probably a good strategy for us moving forward. But the other strategy is to have as many channels as we can up and running. So if one gets picked off, we just move to the other one and just try to be more careful the next time. So I love each and every one of you. I'm going to get my basketball and run to the court and run around. I try to do like, I run up and down the court like 8 times, layups on the full court. And then I shoot around and stuff like that. That's what I do to stay in shape. I like to walk. I guess it's all right. But I enjoy exercise better when I'm involved in some kind of a sport. If any of you like to play tennis, get your tennis racket out. Get out and get some fresh air. Especially if you lived in a cold weather climate where you've been held up all week, or over the last several months during the winter. Now spring is here. It's time to get out and get running. Link to Odyssey. Let me put that in there for you guys. Odyssey. There it is. Here is the channel. Channels. Here's our Odyssey. We got 2. Both Unstoppable and Inner Stars are backed up. Got about 550 followers over there right now. That's cool. The great thing about Odyssey, I'll be honest with you, is that it is a backup for everything. And it's easy. You hit one button and it just goes. It goes over there and it just, as it uploads, it's seamless. So that's what I love about Odyssey. So I don't ever have to worry when I have to pull a video down. It's all backed up. I love each and every one of you. Have a great day.